Okay, are we ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are team back on track. We are Noah Watson, Ina Lohi, and Sofia Savinkova. Well, we've already done an acknowledgement to country, but in addition, we want to respect the people of the future as well. So our proposal is actually planned in such a way as to seek collaboration and cultural consensus from the elders of Karua and Warramai land councils as traditional owners of the land. This is intended as an important spiritual step towards creation of cultural norms that acknowledge that this land was never ceded and that all stakeholders have an obligation to work together on finding workable solutions that encourage an authentic and democratic connection to country and place. Decolonising theory has become more commonly used to work towards the social reparations necessary for Indigenous peoples of the world, and the incorporation of dual naming of places is a key step in that process. As part of our planning process, we note that the local Gatang language of North Arm Cove uses names such as Barami, Weepi, and Guringai Aboriginal area to be synonymous with North Arm Cove Peninsula. As part of our research, we contacted both the Warramai and Karua local Aboriginal land councils and received some preliminary feedback from them about our proposal. A request came from Karua Land Council that we present our proposal to them at their next board meeting in March.
Just a foreword from the Griffin Plan and understanding the Griffin Plan. Walter Burley Griffin and Marion Mahoney Griffin's plan for North Arm Cove was a demonstration that city planning could be much more than simply industrial growth. It's an exemplar of how Australian city planning can take into account Indigenous land management techniques, as well as the values of the century. However, since then, many design values incorporated into the original plan have become outdated with a modern understanding of global warming, especially values concerning vehicle movement, which is a main factor in carbon emissions.
So our goal is to develop a community that embodies the vision that Marion Mahoney and Walter Burley Griffin had for North Arm Cove by understanding the environment and cultural context in relation to modern considerations of city planning and future technologies. We wish to create a 21st century modern community based on the preservation of natural and cultural values, making full use of future technologies targeted at the development of a circular economy and protection of the environment.
The way we have developed our infrastructure is through the use of organizational principles based on historical and environmental context in relation to modern technology and values concerning community well-being. We have used a linear axis that runs the length of the site to organise our infrastructure. This axis takes into account both historical and environmental context, namely the original Griffin Plan's geometry, as well as natural water systems to support environmental infrastructure. We've created a pedestrian strip that runs along the length of the linear axis to promote pedestrian movement and mitigate vehicle movement to reduce carbon emissions. We've incorporated Pavagen technology within our pedestrian strip that creates energy from pedestrian movement, which supports a cyclic economy.
Okay, understanding and incorporating environmental factors and ideologies into our proposal was extremely important to us. Through an understanding of the environment as a stakeholder of North Arm Cove, we strive to maintain current ecosystems as well as educate and engage the community with the environment in everyday life. Our plan is to employ Indigenous management systems in collaboration with Warramai elders to inform the maintenance of proposed zoning and environmental values. Environmental green zones closely relate to the natural water systems and are integrated closely to the pedestrian infrastructure and natural aesthetics of the area. The combination of both pedestrian and environmental infrastructure creates a landscape that allows the community to engage with the environment in day-to-day life through activities like integrated community gardens, walking cultural trails, as well as connecting the community to nature and thereby improving the overall well-being of the community. These activities also support a circular economy and community coherence. Our consideration of the environment extends beyond the allocated green zones and will be incorporated into building standards that impact residential and commercial infrastructure to maintain a balance between the urban and natural environment. The natural ridgeline and hydrology, as well as cultural heritage of the area, have a very strong impact on how the site will be developed spatially. Environmental protection laws regarding water quality are taken into consideration so that any infrastructure built doesn't impact the integrity of the environmentally sensitive oyster farms that link the economy of North Arm Cove to the broader community.
So great places are made when people are given the opportunity to influence the place they live in. Neighborhoods are made of more than just buildings, roads, and facilities. Although these create the physical space, it is the social infrastructure such as events, arts, and cultural programs, people, community services, and local businesses that make up the unique software that defines the place. Collaborative city making requires innovation in 3 key areas such as people, the process, and place. So by involving all these 3 aspects in North Arm Cove strategy, we can enable the change on a systematic level to how we create a neighborhood in North Arm Cove. So people, it is important to understand that community-led placemaking starts and ends with the people who share the neighborhood, and it is impossible without local leadership, ideas, skills, and knowledge to continue. The process shapes and controls the neighborhood, have enormous impact on how they operate. They can limit community or enhance it. It is important to use the already existing resources of North Arm Cove. There are many pockets of underused and their neighbors. Activated spaces will trigger or improve economic activities for local traders, property owners, developers, and place managers alike. So in our research, we have looked into different barriers that locals face when they try to deliver the projects. So these barriers are why at present, most of the placemaking projects are more nice to have rather than must to have. To build the connection between the council and locals, we will nominate a community group to partner with on a series of trial projects. The roles are to set clear boundaries, cross-organizational collaboration, to set the clear line of communication, and to establish a cross-council placemaking leadership team. So our main goal is to set the council and locals on a path of long-term cultural change, including policy development and cross-department collaboration. Small-scale projects are powerful tools for kickstart the change in North Arm Cove community. So these first projects will have uncovered new or greater needs in the community, establish a relationship with the council, and mobilize the community and unlock social capital. Our final goal is to enable a local community to run their own projects within an enabling government set up by local council or the government authority. So such examples of placemaking initiatives are important consideration to develop a community culture. Such examples are Main Street activation that breathe new life into local retail areas with new signage, art and creative objects, parklets or microparks, events in public spaces, and local markets. So based on previous information, the community hall hub that is going to be in North Arm Cove that is already existing, it will improve job opportunities and economic growth. So North Arm Cove's future will be a home to a variety of people different in age, culture, and education. And the community hub must continue to facilitate the interaction of all people to achieve the true community amongst its growing population. The main objective of the community hub will be to improve job opportunities and the economic growth of North Arm Cove, to encourage and facilitate the use of sustainable transport, provide a new innovative outdoor communal space, improve public health, and reduce the effects of urban heat, and inspire new forced innovation and growth. The established community of North Arm Cove has endured many environmental disasters, in particular the 2019 and 20s. Because of this, emergency services have become an important part of the community, not only as an emergency department, but also as a social level as well. So to understand this, we have combined community and emergency infrastructures to develop and establish culture with the community. The positioning of this infrastructure is informed by consideration of both aspects of emergency and community. The three community and emergency hubs are positioned evenly through the site to allow residents easy access and engagement to their facilities. So the commercial centers are important for the final vision of North Arm Cove and identified as a self-sustaining village. We have decided to locate our commercial precincts in the heart of North Arm Cove, as defined by the Griffin Plan. This location also gives the opportunity to integrate water management systems into commercial infrastructure, as the location is within the major water catchment of the site.
The road infrastructure is informed by proximity to community and pedestrian infrastructure, as well as the amount of blocks each road services. Road infrastructure takes into consideration both pedestrian and community infrastructure, as well as how many blocks each road services. By understanding how many blocks each road reduces the cost of road infrastructure, which means we can fund specific road infrastructure like an overpass or pedestrian infrastructure like zebra crossings and lights. We have developed EV charging stations to support our public transport scheme. These stations will be located closely to our smart grid technology, which we'll be talking about later on, that is distributed throughout North Arm Cove and is supported by Pavagen technology.
So a building energy management system will be used for North Arm Cove's development. It is a sophisticated method to monitor and control the building's energy needs. So by developing the linked system integration operating platform, we can collect and use the energy for public benefits, such as lighting control, emergency EV charging stations, parking and traffic control, power and CCTV. So connected to the home energy management system that allows the user to monitor energy usage and production, and to manually control and automate the use of energy within a household. So an important part of the implementing e-bikes in daily lives of the locals is to encourage and facilitate the use of sustainable transport. To support the locals' well-being and make it affordable and accessible for all, users would be able to check the closest bike renting point and easily pay for it from their phones.
The implementation of renewable energy into our scheme is important to us as it supports future generations within the community to be environmentally conscious. Our energy grid is defined by optimal solar locations, which we found through solar analysis of the site. It also integrates Pavagen technology into a source of renewable clean energy and is incorporated that within the grid. We have also incorporated algae technology, which will be integrated into the energy systems for an additional source of power that could be used for commercial infrastructure where it is used. Algae facades also reduce the need for air conditioning, as it acts as insulation and additionally reduces heat island effect, therefore reducing costs of electricity further. Next. This energy grid also works with smart grid technology for urban analysis to understand where and when energy is used to reduce the risk of power outages, as well as energy waste. Ina.
Sorry, I was muted. Water management is a core aspect of city planning, as it supports not only the human community, but also has the potential to be integrated with and supportive of green zones and the broader environment. So in our research process, the water zones were studied in detail. This was to understand how the pre-existing surface hydrology, the flood-prone lands, and the state legislated coastal zone buffers might all work together to ensure that only clean water enters the marine park area. These aspects of water helped us to further understand how the urban plan for North Arm Cove should be zoned for most efficient water cycle management in the landscape. Potable water, stormwater, grey water and black water are all considered within our water management scheme and would need to be developed in a more detailed scale during design development. However, the basic principles are to manage water in a transparent, aesthetic and functional manner within the landscape, making use of the natural biological processes and landscape functions wherever possible. We've chosen a three-stage system to deal with black water. Firstly, black water will be transported to a central water treatment plant. as shown with the dark blue arrows in the centre of the plan, and is to be recycled to a secondary stage into grey water. The grey water is then transported to reed treatment areas integrated in relatively discrete green zones that are linear, that move across to the northern end of the site, so that purified water can then be reintroduced into the environment, support local irrigation needs, and recharge regional aquifers. The reed treatment zones are designed in such a way to ensure that treated grey water is combined with captured stormwater sourced from roads, paths, and public buildings. This ensures a more diluted and biologically processed state of water prior to groundwater recharge and irrigation use, and also avoids the point discharge of stormwater directly into the environment. This recycled water is spread mostly across the northern part of the settlement in a series of permanent ponds and intermittent soaks. The permanent ponds will provide both aesthetic environmental points of interest, as well as provide a source of water to support the algae facade technology and emergency infrastructure for use in fire situations.
Next slide.
Okay, here is an image of how the natural beauty of the waterfront may be preserved and featured for the local community. As already mentioned, the legislated requirement for a coastal buffer will have an extra level of water management protection, ensuring that all development within 100 metres of the high tide mark avoids point source stormwater discharge and contains sewer and grey water so that they don't directly enter the marine environment. Hill slope properties with drainage that cannot be captured through trunk collection must follow health and safety guidelines for safe on-site treatment. All development will be required to be water efficient.
No.
Has he dropped out?
Oh, I don't know.
Understanding how to develop a city plan that is economically viable is an important part of making a design a reality. Researching possible sources of financial support can help in minimising the overall budget. We found that financial support from council are able to fund community events, which will be crucial in developing a sense of place and culture. Our plan will be to employ betterment levies based on proximity to infrastructure. The closer the block is to infrastructure that is considered to boost land value, the greater the betterment levy. Other aspects, such as road infrastructure, as mentioned before, can be economically considered by calculating the amount of users a road will need to support it. By understanding potential road usage, we can reduce overdeveloping road infrastructure and improve cost reduction.
So a digital platform are an excellent and cost-effective way to get the message out and increase community awareness. So one of the first stages of developing digital platforms are implementing the future city smart system starts with upgrading the already existing website. And our platform is also a significant part of the area's smart development digital program, acting as infrastructure of urban exchange, platform services, institute basic matchmaking capabilities between mobile subjects, whether for transportation, shopping, accommodation, dating, or simply public discourse. An online community center is a web-based interactive user-submitted network for groups or organizations or individuals. So also the second application of the digital platform is a real-time performance. So real-time house performance and data collection is crucial for making building more environment friendly and to control its performance. These are some examples of how one-click people can check the data of their house. It is important to educate people how to use and respond to the information given. Phasing is also an important part of our proposal, as we believe it is necessary to make an urban plan of the scale feasible. Phasing reduces economic stress and allows North Arm Cove to grow rather than just instantly appear.
The initial phase focuses on establishing and reinforcing the current community of North Arm Cove. We're refurbishing the current community hall and using digital resources for further development. This is used to create a sense and further sense of place and culture. The second phase is developing initial infrastructure surrounding and concerning our pathogen technology, smart grid, and e-bikes, as well as algae. The third phase is expanding it into the stage map, which is in the next slide. Next slide, yeah. To further parts. And this reduces the financial impact and necessary financial load to start development of the site. The final development, once all quadrants are developed and the infrastructure has been completed.
So this competition provides us the opportunity to have a say about our future. We see a future that is centered around community with focus on well-being and engagement that is also environmentally conscious and understands how to repair issues of climate change. We see a city that embodies the values of its community with the aid of future technologies that enables a circular economy that reduces resource, water, and promotes the decarbonization and efficient resources consumption. Such a city has the ability to not only be relevant in the next 30 years, but to extend its influence beyond the century. That's all. Thank you for listening.